All righty. So I've been thinking a little bit today about the future of software engineering, and I've watched a lot of videos, read some blog posts, have my own thoughts, and trying to figure out where I can fit into this brave new world and what I've got to do and what everyone's got to do that's in software more broadly, white collar work, and I'll scale it out to blue collar work in the future. Let's start with blue collar work so we can just get that out of the way. We've been seeing demos of all these advanced robotical units, like from uh, various Korean, Japanese, Boston Dynamics here in the US, which is actually now owned by Hyundai. So that's Korean in reality. Um, we've seen all these guys putting out demos of robots doing crazy stuff, moving beyond ways that humans can move. They're still demoing them. But when you look, you go outside, look for C3PO, it's like, okay, where's C3PO? Where's R2? You don't see him. The only places you are seeing them is in the military. We're starting to see not C3POs, but the R2D2s, the non human optimized for specific forms of lethality bots taking place in drones over the air in Ukraine, which started out pretty simple of bots that would fly over and drop grenades. Then it was bots that could fly over and just do suicide. And now it's bots that fly over that, are reusable, that are controlled by fiber optics so they can't get jammed, dropping bombs. And now we're seeing armed bots with shotguns and different types of weaponry. Um, and a lot of it has to do with cheapness and getting stuff out the door really quickly, which will tie into other things. So we're seeing it, and we're seeing it in factories on the non-human looking stuff where you've got. And I saw this. I did a stint at Motorola back in the '90s before Motorola basically folded up, and they had fully automated warehouses, and those warehouses, it was the system proprietary written by one guy. One guy knew how it worked. This huge parts warehouse, and I'm sure it's still running today, probably the same code roughly, where it basically knew where everything was, kind of like Amazon, and it would go up and pull stuff out and bring it down. Not quite a full robot, but now Amazon has things that will take it the next step. Once things are pulled down, it will grab them and organize them. You have car movers and things like the equivalent of like pallet jacks that are now automated. So it is coming, but I think there'll be a lag. And the only cognitive model I have to get me using a big word, trying to sound smart when I'm not, um, to try and understand the pacing of this. I was watching some previous AI films from the '80s, and the guys had the concepts right. They were even writing stuff that could do basic inference, but next token prediction and stuff, kind of chat GPT-ish stuff, but it was really limited in scope. And they predicted back then it would be about 30 years before this stuff would really kick off. And they made some pretty accurate predictions. Now it took a little bit longer, about 40 years. But they had the right mental models, they understood the technology, they kind of understood the needs, and they made some pretty good predictions on where things were headed. And so let's extrapolate from that to just spitball a number when robotics are really going to come. Let's say the prediction will take the same prediction of like 40 years, but things have moved faster. So it'll take 20 years. Plus, things have already been in the pipeline at a serious level for 5 to 10 years. So I think for robotics, just using that kind of spitball number before you're actually going to see the C3POs out there, the more human looking machines that are replacing humans' jobs and not augmenting them, like current LLM and AI stuff does. I think that's probably more like 15 to 20 years out, give or take ish. I think that's a low confidence prediction, but it's the only reasonable prediction, I think. But as far as like robots showing up all over the place, from dropping your food off to Waymo cars picking you up and taking you, I mean, that's already here, and that'll rapidly expand out, I think. But C3PO walking the streets of the mines here. We got Claude Opus, ChatGPT, Gemini to put in these things to give them a mind, but working out the communication from the mind to the body and having it work is just, I think it's a little farther out than people expect, but I could totally be wrong. But let's move into my field, which is software engineering. And basically, I'll just lump, for the sake of argument, software engineers into three groups, or software developers, or web developers, or programmers, whatever you want to label them. The labels have changed. Now everybody's an engineer, which I think is somewhat apt. And I'll explain that a little bit. But the three groups: one, and this is the group that I probably am most identified with, is slop coders or blue coders or vibe coders. I don't, let's keep the vibe out of it for right now, but just slop or glue coders. This would be coders that are kind of entrepreneurial, that coding might be secondary to them. I've worked for people like this where they basically create a concept and use whatever skills they had and got it out the door. It became profitable. And then at the time, they hired people like me, which would come in and clean up the code and make it more advanced and modular, easier to maintain. Nowadays you can add in test driven development with that using best practices and design patterns and all that good stuff, making sure it can scale and all that. So that right there shows a divergence between your initial kind of like get it done, don't cross every T or dot every I, you're just pushing it. And then once it's kind of this proven concept, then you have the more dedicated engineers that apply best practices and craftsmanship to come over and take that concept and make it something that's repeatable, more profitable, stable, more robust, scalable if it need, depending on what its needs are. And that kind of divides into kind of how a lot of corporations work. You have people that are kind of on the frontier of innovation, they build things, and then corporations basically come and commoditize that, either by this thing becoming that or a corporation buying these guys and taking it, and then they basically turn this garage idea into a Model T factory and just pump, 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 pump on out and make money predictably and go go into pumping their pockets full as much as they can, I guess. That's capitalism, right? But and then there's kind of this middle tier too, which is kind of like your mid-level developers where you're learning the more advanced techniques over here. You might have evolved from this and you're on a continuum to master the DevOps components and all the intricacies of Kubernetes and the cloud platforms, Azure, AWS, and all that stuff, to a not just a user standpoint, a usability standpoint to deploy basic things, but at a high architectural level. So you've got your glue and a lot, and then you have your mids, and then you got your highs. This is what I predict AI is going to do, and it's not rocket scientists. Other people have said similar. This is just my slightly unique take on it. Um, the glue coders, what's your path? I guess I'm over here. What's your path forward? If you're not using AI, you're gone. You're done because AI can replicate everything that you can do. So you have a choice. And I think a lot of you by nature are not going to transition into a senior software engineering point. And how do I know that? Because if you wanted to be engineers, you know, some of you are graduate CS majors that have engineering degrees, but a lot of you aren't. And just by nature, being a hardcore engineering type person may not fit you. So you have that option to try to come from this side over here and scale as quickly as you possibly can using AI to help augment your skills and learn to get over into the hardcore DevOps architecture path. That's that's a choice. I don't think it's the best choice for you. If you're in this space, what you want to do is you want to become an orchestrator. And basically, that will involve learning and using agentic AI properly, because rather than having a software team that you're part of, you're going to be the boss of the software team, and that software team is going to be a bunch of different agents running concurrently, sometimes 24/7. You have to understand the technologies that they're touching and they're building on so that you can write the right requirements, ask the right questions, understand enough to what's going on so that you can do what you did before, and that's get that minimal viable product, the concepts proven. And then what you can do is you can pass it off to the more advanced teams, just like the normal pipeline is, and they're going to take it to the next level. But the difference being is you cannot just be like a solo person that's not using AI, or part of a team of your bros in the garage that aren't using AI. You have to become an AI agenic master. You have to essentially run your own teams, because if you can have a team of software AI agents that run at about $5,000 a month or less, and you cost a company or your own self, ten to $15,000 a month, you've got like something that's roughly about 20,000 bucks for a reasonably sized team that can produce things quickly. Then that's going to rival 150,000 to plus teams in the corporate marketplace. You can replace them, and doing that, you're golden. Whether you're in a corporate world or whether you're a consultant outpacing these guys, I think that's your play. Become the orchestrator. Now, if you're in the middle tier, and this is kind of where I am, I kind of have bounced around over my career. You're done. You either become an orchestrator or you go to the engineering, and your paths to do each are probably a little bit. If you've been aiming at building yourself up to a craftsman, and then suddenly you're back into essentially vibe coding, it's going to feel like a step back. But that's a choice for you. I think the mental model's different, so it might be a little tougher. Or you can just dive in and make your fastest play at becoming a senior principal level architect, engineer, DevOps guy at a high level. And you have to make that play as fast as you can. No ifs, ands, or buts, because if you stay in the middle, you're gone, just like the junior level people are gone. Now, if you're a senior, you're in a good place because you understand the advanced concepts, but you have to keep pushing. You can't sit on your laurels anymore, because you're a big, big cost. A lot of companies are flush with cash, so immediately you're kind of safe because they know that they need you and they're willing to pay. But over time, they're going to have, the CEO is going to have buddies that are in marketing and sales, and those buddies in marketing or in sales are going to be talking to their bros out on the golf course that are running smaller companies where they've got the AI guy and his team that are doing crazy stuff, and it's costing 1/20th of what your company's costing. So that's going to cause eventual questions to come back to you and saying, what is this automation AI adoption strategy? And if your answer is it's just slop, I refuse to do it, you're gone. You're out of there. You have to understand its strengths and weaknesses, how it can augment you. You have to be able to communicate internally with the new AI bro, or consultants that are the AI bros, to make sure they're not piping you a bunch of junk. And you have to keep the high standards, and you have to use AI yourself in a different way, more in a helping you manage tasks to free up time to do the hardcore cognitive stuff that AI can't do. And that buys you time. Eventually, the potential for you being replaced is there, but it's not as immediate as the middle and the low tier. And the big shame about the entry level jobs, so we have our three different groups now, and then we're talking about entry level now. Entry level is, they're screwed, because basically what's going to happen is, because there's going to be less people working in software engineering and white collar jobs in general. Let's apply this out for that broadly. For that is there's going to be less of a need. So which groups are you going to choose from? Now, there's always going to be room for the absolute rock stars that teach themselves programming. But I bet you if you look at all these Corsica and all these courses that are claiming that all these great results over time, the self-taught people, unless you are an absolute rock star that can fit in this tier over here relatively quickly, you know, or you go through a couple courses and you just are naturally good at the orchestration part and you fit into that, you have more life there. Over here, unless you're coming from an elite school, unless you've got a dedicated software engineering degree that teaches you all the craftsmanship type stuff, you're not going to get here from an entry level post. So you've got the elite schools, software engineers piping in now to here. You're going to have extreme competency of how to run AI agents, their strengths and weaknesses, which platforms are best, which models are good, when to use really intelligent models, when to dial back for simple tasks to locally run models. There might be all sorts of different requirements you're gonna have to wade through, how to prompt things, and not just basic prompting, but like really like the type of prompting that gets people at Anthropic excited when they look at your prompts, right? Middle tier, there is no path to enter to anymore because that tier essentially is gone. Um, so you become an orchestrator, or you come from an elite school, heavy education for specific software craftsmanship, and that just gets you in the door. And then you got to spend the next 5 years, learning the cloud platforms and all that. And you have to have a mentor because some of that stuff eventually is going to become more and more AI friendly and AI automated. So it's going to be wise companies that are going to risk taking long term investments on you. So those companies are going to be very picky about who they bring on. So that's your choices. And for the person who just joined, if you're interested, I think this is pretty good. You might want to watch it from the beginning. I got some stuff going on, but just to recap, AI's here. I'm looking at like Claude Opus and Claude Code and people that are spinning up 30 concurrent instances that are coding 24/7 that have multiple accounts. And my own experiment, I one shot at a full Next.js application with Tailwind, with authentication, with database connectivity, doing basic CRUD, had it build the tables and everything with one prompt, and it worked. I mean, I think I had to do like one tweak where I had to upgrade it did an older version of Next.js and upgraded it to the latest one. The fact that it did that in one freaking prompt in 15 minutes. And I'm not the only people that are saying this. There's other people that are coming out now and just saying software engineering is dead. Hey, man, Mustard, uh, tell me what you're doing last night. I'm legitimately curious. I'm going to keep this one pretty short though. But yeah, throw it in there. Um, the and give a report if you want to. It's up to you. Sleeping. Ah, good, good. That is a better use of time. So hopefully you're all rested up. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, I'll wrap off the AI portion content of it here. It's here. Uh, Software programming as we know it is dead. Now it won't instantly die. It won't instantly change to what I described overnight, but I mean, it's here. I mean, the idea you have orchestrators that run agentic teams over here, which is where I'm aiming for, because I got to be honest with you, all the bit shifting, high level engineering or low level engineering stuff, totally necessary once you reach a certain scale. But if I reach that scale with products I'm building, because I'm going to try to shift from being a clog in a corporate gear that one day is going to be automated to owning something. Because if you own it, the decision to replace you with AI or anything else is made by you. If you don't own it, then one day something's going to come for your job and you don't get a say because you're essentially a cog in the gears. You're a tool. And once it's a better tool for the job, most corporations, especially today in the United States of America and globally, I mean, some are, have a little bit different. Like here in Japan, they have a little bit different relationship between employee and employer. But definitely in the United States, you are an expensive, unreliable cog in the gears. Now you can try to be more reliable, not take sick days, not take vacations, work extra for free. That buys you a little bit of time. It destroys your life, destroys your family life, destroys your health. That's your own option. You can get so good that you can kind of work out a work-life balance where you do spend a lot of extra time keeping up to date, but you got yourself to a level where you're pretty high up. But AIs, LLMs are just going to be dogging you all the time. They're going to be chasing you all the time. So my strategy, if I can pull it off, is to go from worker to owner, to owning something. I think that's the best play you can make. I may not be able to pull that off. At least I'll try if I can. I don't know. But if you don't pull that off and you're a knowledge worker, eventually high probability that you're either going to be moved into more of an orchestration role or going to be moved out the door unless you're an absolute key critical piece. So go for AI orchestration, go for becoming just a total expert in your field in multiple domains and how they link together to make you hard to automate AI or move into the physical world, you know? Forget all this knowledge work stuff. Actually get off your fat butt and do some real work. Become a mechanic, become an HVAC guy. And that buys you, I'm on, nope, I'm on, yeah, that'll buy you 10 to, 10, 15 years maybe. And then after that, who knows? And regardless of who you are, like me and Main Man Mustard, we're poor folk. We don't have spare capital. But if you do, you should be investing that into owning things because when this all falls down, if you own something, it's yours until bigger forces come and take it away. That's a whole nother can of worms, but that's kind of outside your control. But what is in your control is keeping your prices down minimally, investing in yourself where it makes sense, looking at careers that are more uh, AI proof and adjusting. And Amen, Mister, give me amen there. So I will stop the AI portion. Mayman Mustard, how are you doing? So you're sleeping? How's taking Cosmic? He was going to become a cybersecurity guy, and I don't think that's a bad short term play. But there's already LLMs that are dedicated for both red teaming and um, analyzing code for vulnerabilities and offense too. They're all kind of the same thing if you think about it. So they're still going to need people to orchestrate all that. So again, it's that orchestration part that you want to get into. You want to learn it, your craft enough to understand what's going on, and then you want to orchestrate the AI sub employees. Same with cybersecurity. So if you can get in there now and learn how to do that, you'll be good. Or you can learn how to do that and then just become super, super good at your job, top 1% elite, and then you'll be okay. But if you're not this or this and you're somewhere in the middle, you're gone. Your history. So unless he's 1% elite or is pretty good at willing to use AI to orchestrate and really understand agentic frameworks and stuff like that, as well as various domains, then getting into the physical world and doing something else is golden. Um, so yeah, all right, end it there. Main Mammoth just says, I'm doing still moving crap, got a load of two, sort through and make space for another couple loads of stuff. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, Main Man Mustard. You got too much crap. If it I'm gonna say this just from my perspective, but if you've had stuff in a warehouse that you haven't needed for a couple years, I mean, I know you some of it is needed. You second that, yeah. Just get rid of it, man. Get rid of it. Give it to somebody who can actually use it, who will use it right away. That was my philosophy. Now I regret that once I'm out of here and I got to get another apartment again or another place to live again. But even then, man, I'm basically down to this. I need a card table. I need an office chair. I probably need like a little throw rug or something, or those little plastic things to put my chair on. Probably two card tables. Um, I need like a sitting chair just to chill and read. Optionally, I have some kind of little table that could even be another card table where I eat with maybe a couple folding chairs. I need a bed. I need basic dishes, but if it's for me and my son, we're talking under four plates, under four cups, under four set, basic uber minimal. Clothes enough to wear to keep people from vomiting when they see me naked. The medical stuff I gotta have. Um, you know, one or two things of sheets and stuff for the bed. I'll just call that towels and stuff. And then, one or two bins of keepsakes, and then one or two bins of computer crap. And actually, I'm bringing that down to a half bin and merging that with. Beyond that, you don't need anything else. I mean, it'd be cool to have, sure. Toss a bunch of stuff. I just gathered stuff up and tossed it in storage. No, storage is not tossing it. Storage is still having it. Then while I was in storage, acquired more stuff to use temporarily. Yeah, like with me, the whole thing was is I was expecting to stay where I'm at for like about 6 months. And I looked at my furniture that I had, and it's like, okay, what's a storage facility going to cost me for 6 months? Um, and anyway, I ran a bunch of numbers and stuff, and basically the replacement cost at that time would buy me about 8 months of storage. So to break even on it. And then I'd still, depending on where I was in the country, I'd still have to make a trek back, pick it all up, and then drive it across country. So at that point, it was like I'm taking one car load. If it can't fit in the car load, it's gone. And I actually had room to spare, which is not really. I had it packed pretty full. Since then, I've gone through some of the stuff I had. And again, I'm just using myself as an example. Doesn't mean I'm a good example, but I've gone through some of the stuff I had, and I plan to get rid of stuff. The next time I go to whatever's next, I'm literally going to have half a carload. That's equivalent of when I left um, to go start my life after college. I had a delay. I worked a local job, which was a great job, but for 4.5 years. But when I got serious about careers and stuff, I had a Nissan Altima that I filled up with everything that I had. I got rid of everything else, and I'm back to the same. I have like 6 big bins of clothes that don't fit, running it to Goodwill tomorrow. There you go. Had to get the stuff that I've had with me to go through it and parse down to what fits. Yeah, see, you're doing it. You're going through it. I think, no joke. And the only reason I went to Goodwill is just because they were right down the street from me. It wasn't any kind of altruism on the part of me. It was just like I want to get rid of the stuff. I don't want to mess with it. They're right down the street. They don't ask any questions. I take it. They take it out of the thing, and I drive back. I think I must have done 14 sorties to Goodwill on my last movement. I didn't even think I had that much stuff. And then I did one truck, paid one truck to come by and pick up the couch. Giving away the couch was a little rough. The chair that I had was both the office chair and just the sitting chair were both, for my purposes, good, but they're replaceable. They hurt a little bit to give up. But and then for bookshelves and stuff, I did the ghetto thing where you just basically take two cinder blocks, put a piece of plywood, then two cinder blocks, put a piece of plywood. You can actually get something about equivalent to that cost because wood now is so expensive. Um, by getting a little bookshelf, that's one of the El Cheapo ones at like Costco or something. But hey, I didn't want to do that, or Target or wherever they sell them. I didn't want to do that because they're all cheapo and they break easy. And the idea was is those things can be disassembled and moved. I can take the blocks with me. I can throw them in the dumpster when I'm leaving. Put the wood out if somebody wants it. So yeah, that's how I roll nowadays, man. And if I Go overseas, it'll be like one big backpack and one suitcase. That's it. Had like three sets of dishes and silverware. Have a big bin to go to Goodwill for that. Tossed out bunches of old paperwork that's no longer needed. Yeah, that's what you got to do, man. You just got to burn this stuff behind you. I had all these like notes from college, the first programs I wrote in Pascal and all this stuff. And there was some cool stuff in there. Bin, gone. Going through the DVD collection next to parse that down to almost nothing. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole cloud argument is it's problematic because if you use the cloud, um, somebody could flip a bit and turn something off, or if a movie's considered has a part that um, is considered bad. I was watching a movie the other day, and I'm like, wait a second, they skipped a part, and it was on Amazon. Yes, they did. It was not the original movie; it was an edited version of it. And I was like, what the heck's with this? So yeah, I'm pro physical copies, but just in my lifestyle, I think I took out what I did for DVDs. I actually do not know if I still have them. For a while, when you bought them, they were giving you both Bluetooth and DVDs. So I just gave the Bluetooth to my ex at one point when I was leaving the Grand Canyon. And then I took everything else that was DVD and I just stuck it in. So I went from, these two huge DVD stacks to these little things that you just slide the DVDs in the plastic things like old CD holders. And that held like the equivalent of like 200 DVDs or whatever. And at some point, I may have done this. I don't know. I either still have it or I just picked it up and handed it to Goodwill. And I know I took a huge financial loss because some of this stuff was pretty rare. Um, Physical copies to a point. I've got many for this little place. Yeah, I mean, some physical copies are cool. Me, I pretty much stream everything now. Again, there's the whole aspect of that where they can edit them, they can take them offline, even with a lot of books and stuff. So I kind of don't like doing that. But in a sense, but for me right now, the fear of dystopia and the ability to move fast, moving fast is outweighing the dystopic fear, even though it's there. If I had a three-bedroom house, well, that would be different. Yeah, the most painful thing for me was at one point I thought I'd be like kind of this esoteric scholar. So I had just all these books. I mean, when we were in northern Arizona, we moved around a little bit up there, but at one point we had like about four bookshelves a, a half bookshelf. And some of those books, man, I gave one of them away at the Grand Canyon. And then I was listening to this podcast and the author of that book was on it. And the guy was joking with him. He's like, yeah, I see that edition of your book's worth 800 bucks on eBay. I was just like, frack, man, I gave all that stuff away. I'm sure there were lots of books I had that were worth big bucks. Cosmic, how you doing? I referred to you earlier. I summoned you by talking about you. This was originally going to be just me blabbing. Main Man Muster says, "Hey, Cosmic, hold on. I'm still in that top chat. Let me go to live chat here. I may have missed some of your things. All bad. Yeah, I talked all bad about you. Basically, I used you as an example because originally I was just going to use this video as context to do a notebook LM slideshow. But Main Man Mustard popped in, so we're chatting now. I'm glad you popped in as well. But I use you as an example because I was going on about how AI is replacing jobs, and I talked about, yeah, the Cosmic was on here, and he was going into cybersecurity, but now he's going into a physical business. And I use you as an example of that's a great pivot because you're getting into physicality that's not automatable. You're producing physical products. You can't have AIs do that. And I talked about before that how I think we're still about 15 years out on C3POs. Um, and then I said, if you're going to be like a cybersecurity expert, just like in all software engineering, you have to either learn agentic AI and your craft of cybersecurity and all the subdomains that it touches on, and basically become like this manager of agents to build your team of cybersecurity stuff in the corporate world, or you have to become just so good at it that you're in the top 1% and they can't get rid of you. But even if you're there, you're just buying time, and the LLMs are constantly going to be chasing you of how good you are. So you become an orchestrator, or you become a just an extreme subject matter expert. Like for me to get there in software engineering at this point probably isn't doable. So I'm focusing on the orchestration route. But instead going physical, and then Main Man Mustard pipes in with his favorite song from the 70s, little Olivia Newton-John. Let's get physical, physical. But yeah, we know how that is. I remember when I was a kid thinking she was like, wow. I think that's a song. Getting for that. I mean, who knows? There's probably like 8 different rap versions of that song now, but the original trio was Olivia Newton-John. Um, Good old ONJ, exactly. So anyway, Cosmic, I hope I didn't breach anything by using you as an example. Doing our packing store, we need to do a YouTube channel. Yes, you do, Cosmic and Mayman Mustard. Have you ever seen that one guy? He's works for the sign company out of China, and he made this. I'm not sure this is the model you want to use, but he made this huge marketing splash for his company by basically playing these ridiculous, like woke videos of basically just crazy people. And then he'd start off by making some comment about the video, and then he'd immediately pivot into selling his product. And that dude's hilarious. Yeah, you've seen him, Made Man Muster, and he just ballooned. I don't know how much actual sales traction it generated. I'm sure it did, a fair amount. So yeah, if you're crafty, you can use those video channels to gain a following and move product and let people know what you do. So yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, that dude's hilarious. I guess the Trump brief 120% tariffs or whatever almost killed his business. So he was sad, but they're back. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Cosmic. So what's the ETA date are you guys thinking about? I know there's no way you can probably give an actual date, but I'll definitely, if you guys so desire, for what little tiny voice I have, I will promote the store. Um, so yeah, I'm just curious to see what kind of date, what kind of status you guys have, if you want to share that. If not, or you want to share that, Cosmic. If not, totally get it. It's like, hey, not yet. Yeah, dude, for sure. It should only take me a few weeks to get this set up. That's awesome. So you still just kind of curious, are you still going after the cybersecurity stuff, or is that pretty much just on hold? And that's just for my own personal curiosity. Um, yeah. Uh, I had I remember like there was like I am, but technically on hold right now. Yeah, get that physical business going, and then see where things are done. Like I said at the beginning of the video, man, it's like I called it a little bit right. I figured this would be the year of the AI Grognard, or kind of the version 1 stuff. Uh, of corporate AI slop was generally so bad, using outsourced sources and all this stuff, not understanding RAG and all that stuff as well as could be, producing stuff that's not that good. So Grocknard's like, this all sucks. Cosmic Tradition says we have 2 other businesses as well, like multiple streams of income. Brilliant. Yeah, get as many streams as you can support with your attention. I think that's the limiter. Um, if you can attend running 50 businesses at once, and AI can maybe help that, then do that. If whatever that number is. But yeah, if you got 3 irons in the fire, that's great. That spreads out risk, spreads out income, potential earnings. That's all good. What the hell was I babbling about, or heaven was I babbling about? Totally forgot. I'm sleep deprived. When I get sleep deprived, those neurons just aren't connecting as well as they normally would be. Um, Yeah, but getting into the physical thing where it's not as automatable is a good call at this point. Um, yeah, last week I was all set up for this interview. Good chance I would get the position. It's a one and done interview, and then it got punted till this week, which in my mind basically says it's probably not a go. Uh, Cosmic is the next Elon. Let's hope. Let's hope. Get a bunch of businesses going. You're younger. You're younger than both me and Main Man Mustard. There's hope for you. There's hope for Main Man Mustard. He hasn't crossed the 5-0 barrier yet. That's when you get stupid and you just take naps. That's all you do. Stay up late talking because you're like old. Um, yeah. Um, he looks like he has, as Christian says, creeping up there. So you're all looking 50. Yeah, Main Man Mustard. This is one thing too that this is this is my personal deal, and I'll kind of extrapolate it out to anybody who will listen. I've been through the ringer, and I totally neglected my health, and that's not an excuse. That's just acknowledging that I just didn't prioritize it enough. So cosmic, if you're getting like 5 or 6 irons in the fire, you might get to the point where you've got limited time and just you're excited about your businesses. Like me, like, it used to be sometimes when I would get coding, I'd actually forget what time it was, and I'd just get into this zone that's called flow state or whatever. And, you'd start and then you'd look outside and it'd be dark and you'd be like, "Whoa, what happened?" I love that. And for me, talking about AI and getting into like AI stuff and programming with AI now is the same type of thing. Getting into that flow state. Cosmic Tradition says, for sure, dude. I love that too. Yeah, getting in the flow state, that's a good indicator. If you're getting in there consistently, that means you're in the right spot for where you should be. But the problem is if you got 3 or 4 businesses that are really engaging and it's almost like flow state for each one of them, I'm telling you, you will punt physical activity when you get older. You just will. You got family, you got kids. I'm sure you're kind of struggling with it a little bit, maybe already, maybe not. I don't know, but you got to prioritize that. I mean, genetically, we're all different. I'm talking at you, man mustard too. You're a physical guy. Most of your jobs are physical, so it's absolutely critical to shape that body into something that makes the honeys go, "Ooh, I want that." Got to get back to using your wall, Cosmic. So what Cosmic has a wall of some climbing stuff or some exercising equipment. But anyway, my larger point is like you have to prioritize in that. I'm finding that now. And sleep. Sleep is the one thing for me. I went through a brutal health crisis, I don't know, getting close to 10 years ago, where my body just said, "Hey, you almost died one night, so you can't go to sleep anymore." And I went through a period of months after that where some nights I would get no sleep. I think I was averaging about 3 hours of sleep, and I just totally degraded. I'd be awake but asleep, and I'd start sleep talking and just all sorts of horrible stuff. Um, the wall. Did you make Mexico pay for it? Yeah, have Mexico pay for your working out. Absolutely. But anyway, the sleep stuff. So I'm in this weird place now where after going through that, I can a lot of times I can fake not needing to need sleep. Like if I'm into something, then it's like, okay, I need to go to sleep. It's just like, screw it. I don't need that much sleep. I can survive. But cognitively, the way your mind works, you think, I mean, you're not operating at 100%, but in reality, you're plugging along. It's like, okay, I'm a little lagged, but I'm still pretty much 100%. No, no, you're operating like 60, 70%. You think you're kind of close to 100%. You're a little bit lagged, but dude, especially when you're doing programming and stuff, as you probably know, especially as you get older too. Like, when I was younger, I could go out to Mill Avenue and come back at 4 o'clock in the morning, get up at 9, wander into work at 10 and function, not peak, but good enough. Now it'd be like, no way. I've been trying to get my sleep schedule to a decent up in the morning, in bed by 10 or so. Yeah, me too. Man, Mustard, you're lying to yourself because you're a little nighthawk like me. So you gotta, like, if you're gonna do that, I don't even know how you can do that. Because if no one's looking over your shoulder going to bed, you reply to my 10 texts. Oh, I got you. Actually, this kind of like fits into something I'm working on. I can't talk about it just yet, but this would be a prime use case for it. Um, but anyway, I said in bed, not asleep. 1 o'clock. Yeah, exactly. So, like, for you to go back to actually go to bed at 10, probably for me too, that is a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift. We look at it as like, "Ah, I can do it." But that'd be like someone quitting smoking, going to bed at 10 consistently when no one's, like, on your back or you don't have anywhere really to be all the time in the morning. Like, if I have somewhere to be in the morning, I can get up. But if I have nowhere to be in the morning and it's 2 o'clock and something's got my attention, um, there's a good chance I'm going to bed at 5 and, you know, and then being lagged the next day because something will happen. It's like, oh, I'm going to bed at 5. I'll get 7 hours. I'll sleep till the afternoon. Especially cosmic you got kids and stuff and a wife. Wife's not gonna let you sleep till 12, maybe once every 3 years, but she's got the task list. I I really enjoy the bed by 7 or 8 p.m. and up at 3 a.m. Love early shifts. I've never had an issue with those jobs. That's crazy. That is craziness. It's kind of weird because that might be kind of a natural rhythm where a lot of people kind of have this spot in the evening where they kind of get tired. So if you're tapping into that, if that 7 or 8's for you, and then getting up at 3, but even 8 p.m., that's what 4. Yeah, it's about 7.5 hours, probably enough. Ideally, though, I think even old farts supposedly need less sleep, but I think targeting 8 or 9 is actually good, man. If you can get 9 hours of sleep consistently, you're like real sleep. It's like wow. I like being up and productive while the world is kind of quiet. I do too. I love it, man, master. But I'll be brutally honest with you. When it comes to doing stuff I shouldn't do and sinful temptation and all that, like, hey, let's look at this article over here, or I hear that you can jailbreak this. Let's see if it can do an NSF stuff. I'm just testing it out. Blah blah blah. That's going to happen at night. That's not going to happen in the day. And because unfortunately, um, that comes up with me, which is freaking sad and pathetic, that is a huge argument for going to bed at 10 just to get offline. Because then I'll feel better about myself. I'll feel better about my relationship with God, and I'll actually get up and be productive during the day. And even though I think I'm being super productive at night, and sometimes I am, I'm probably going down rabbit holes. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm productive because I learned about the Illuminati. That's not productive. That does not move your personal needle in life 1 inch. If anything, it distracts it a little bit because you're a little bit tired the next day. So I'm just talking about the Illuminati in general. I'm talking about, that's just a placeover for what's really going on with Venezuela. It's 1:35 in the morning, and I just had a thought. What if it's really about Cuba and cutting off Cuba from oil supplies from Venezuela? I just saw something on Twitter where Mexico is going to do it too, and they're starving the regime. And yeah, this is about getting resources, but it's really about regime change in Cuba. I better go check all that out and start research. I'm going to spin up an AI agent and do a deep research project on that. Oh yeah, I wish it would do things asynchronously in this web scraping part. So I'm going to go to Claude. Oh crud, the sun's coming out. It's like, and that's a more noble night. There are nights that are like not as noble. So, yeah, it is what it is. Um, and I say that to not glorify evil things, but I hate a world of super Christians where Christians hide behind self righteousness because it's a lie. And our righteousness is Jesus. You absolutely should do everything in your power to avoid sin, but let's keep it real. And That's why I do stuff like that without glorifying it, but I admit when I'm flawed, because I don't want people who come into church who have a really realistic appraisal of themselves, and then they look around and it's a bunch of super saints, even though they're not, and they go, "Oh, I shouldn't be here." Main man Mustard says, next thing you know, you're watching traffic cams in New Zealand, and it's 7:30 a.m. Ask me how I know exactly. I mean, there might be a tsunami. You might be able to watch it live, right? There was some earthquake or something. And I'm just this is a fictitious scenario. I don't know why you were looking, but it's like, oh yeah, there's a traffic cam. I wonder if I can see it coming in. I totally did that when whatever the Russian tsunami was fairly recently. I was on the cameras looking, and I was on the X feed looking. The funnest one I've done recently, and it's kind of sad because it's not fun, but when Plushenko or whatever guy that was uh whatever the name of that. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't because I'm tired. I can't make that final connection. The Russian mercenary group that was fighting in Ukraine, he said it was basically BS the what way things are fighting. And he had like 15,000 troops and he turned around and headed for Moscow. Um, Dude, I watched that in real time with all these OSINT guys on X, and I stayed up all night and I had to work the next day. It was really stupid of me to do that, but oh, it was like, and it was wrong to take pleasure in something that potentially could have got. I think a couple people got killed with helicopters and stuff. But Wagner, there we go. Thank you, sir. Wagner, yeah. Boshenko, I'm probably butchering his name. But anyway, he chickened out, and then he had his flight accidentally blew up later on. Surprise. Swinging a king, you better not miss or pull back at the last second. Go all in or you don't swing. That was Boshenko's last lesson before hell, I guess. Um, anyway, anyway, guys, I gotta go. I was meant to do a little thing, and it turned into a big thing. But I'm glad you're both here. Sorry I missed you guys both last night. But again, like I said, I am happy when people do things that are productive and not here. This is a low priority. I have fun always talking with you guys. I have a lot of angst, and talking on the interwebs helps me get that out of me. Cosmic Musician says, I popped in last night but stayed quiet, laughing. I was tired. And that's totally fine too, being a lurker, not wanting to reveal yourself to the man, not be swept up with your chats, go into the NSA database out in Utah or Fort Meade, Maryland. Wise call. Roger that, buddy. I need to run and get more junk to throw away. Dude, every time you throw it away, you're lightening your load. You're making yourself faster. I hope, man Mustard, you're staying in your apartment for a good long time. I think that would be great. Good long time being, you know, not decades. We're talking years ish. But yeah, get ready for the next thing, man. Um, until you're stable. Be honest with the economy, the way things are going, I think stability is going to be this super high luxury item. Um, Hopefully, we can acquire some currency with this venture. I hope so. Me too, says Main Man Mustard for the previous concert. Comments, I'm sure, also applies to the acquiring money. I wish you guys all the best. I will be praying for your success. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I pray every day vigilantly, but I do remember. When I remember, I pray for you guys. Um, do printers, says Main Man Mustard. Yep. And then you can't have an AI physically print stuff. So you're in a good space for now until Skynet starts the factories and one of Elon Musk's plants creates a bunch of robotic workers. And you guys do green ink too. That's cool. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how it'll all play out, and I wish you guys success, and not only this, but Cosmic, see your other two things you're working on. I'm hoping I'm hitting a wall with the stuff I'm working on because there's a bunch of legal compliance BS, and I had to submit a bunch of paperwork, and I gotta wait, and I was they say it takes up to a month, and I was led to believe it actually only takes a week, and I think it's probably gonna be closer to a month. Don't let the man get you down. I know. You guys probably are facing, or you Cosmic are facing dealing with all the legal stuff too of setting up a business and all that stuff. I'm sure that's got its hoops you gotta jump through. Um, just need 75% cotton and 25% linen. There you go. There you go. Heck, man, maybe I'll move the the stream to this time. Uh, that's more convenient for people. I'm usually not doing anything Saturdays except um, I actually try to get a schedule together because schedules are kind of what help you hit those targets of going to bed at 10 instead of 5 or just not going to bed. Um, and I have a block of free-ish time on Saturday according to my master schedule, which will last for probably about 3 days before I go, it's not gonna work. At least I'm swinging. Keep chipping at a sculpture. Eventually, something will come out of it. You never chip; it'll just be a rock. Um, ooh, wise. What if you chip and it's just a pile of other rocks? Shut up. Man, Master says he'd be down. Why did I hear a little? Oh, my Grok Imagine that was opened refreshed on me. I don't know why. It does that. It's the man logging into my computer. Eyes on Minnesota. That's all I'll say about that without getting political. Um, remember to pray for yourself too. Cosmic says these times strengthen you. Yeah, I hope. I hope that I think multiple things are going on with me, and I hope that I navigate them correctly as God would want me to do, not as my flesh would have me do. I am getting a little bit bummish. I didn't even. I still got like pajama bottoms on today, and the sun's going down. My parents that I'm staying with right now, you know, it's one thing staying with your parents when you're 25, but when you're coming back and being 55, um, it's kind of like playing Rochambeau where you don't go first. Put it that way. I mean, they're totally cool. They're not grievous about it at all, but it's definitely a thing I never thought would happen again. I thought I would be in the area again, possibly, but I didn't think I'd be here for as long as I am. I thought I'd pop in here, hang out with my son for a couple months, hang out with them, have a great summer, and boom, jobs would rain down on me like bombs in Iran in a week, and I'd be employed and rolling, and that just hasn't happened. Me, my master says, praying God makes your path clear for you, brother. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's all one. I'll tell you guys a quick story, and then I'll go. I'm not going to name the company. I think you guys might know what it is, but my last job it was for big tech, and the way I got the job was this. I I was unhappy where I was at. It was a great company where I was at, and the people were fairly nice and everything. So that wasn't the problem. The problem is like the actual job itself, and I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, I was dissatisfied. Remember, money can't buy you happiness, but it sure as hell does buy everything else. Exactly. It's not money; it's the love of money is the root of all evil. Money itself isn't evil; it's something you got to deal with, which sucks, but it is what it is. But loving it to where you're going to sacrifice things that shouldn't be sacrificed. Again, as for sleep, family time, and rigid discipline come in to make sure you do the sleep, family time, and keep your physical activity high, even when things are exploding in success around you. You got to be ruthless and say, and I'm speaking to myself as I do this, to keep that wall up so that you can get all three. Money can buy you snowmobiles. I ain't never seen a frowny face on a sled. Yeah. Um, yeah. I was ranting about something, but it has passed me. So anyway, I wish you all a good night. I'm going to pull the plug. And yeah, I'll ponder maybe moving this thing to Saturday if that's more convenient. just as a general catch-all. And again, no one's committed. No one's going to be here as a commitment. It's just whatever downtime you have, where the highest probability, if you are so inclined to swing by, if it makes sense for me to adjust and works with my own busy schedule, I'll think about it. Anyway, I'll be praying for you both. Pray for your success, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna dodge out. Good night, peace.